Sis and Tell, Sis and Tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up. Alison's on TV. And when they hop on the phone, it's the place you want to be. Sis and Tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man. What's going on?
Do you ever have one of those nights where you wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about the most ridiculous things that then keep you up for an hour?
It's rare that I don't have one of those nights because I wake up in the middle of the night all the time, and the insomnia because of those stupid, distracting thoughts is unbearable.
It is like not, yeah. And then like you get in just like the habit of waking up at that same time. It's your internal like alarm clock then. But my like the stupidest thing came into my head. Well, actually, it doesn't feel very stupid now. And it didn't feel stupid then, right? Like sometimes you'll wake up and be like, that was the dumbest thing to worry about.
Right.
But what I got worried about was that I'd never taught my kids the dangers and the know-how on how to use a garbage disposal properly.
All right, that is a stupid thing to worry about in the middle of the night. I'll go ahead and confirm your original suspicions.
Well, I was like picturing them, like we leave them home alone, and I was like, what if like someone has their hand down there and they're trying to see something and someone thinks they're turning on the light switch and it's the garbage disposal and they lose a finger. Anyways.
So did you teach them?
Not yet. I have to say.
So it kept you up all night, but you just haven't had time to explain it. By the way, two things. One, I don't know how somebody lives without a garbage disposal.
We grew up without one.
I know, but like that's different than having one and not having one. Not having one for 18 years and then inheriting one when you move into a place with modern, plumbing.
You're like, how did we live without this?
I don't know how you live without it. Second of all, I'm about to change your life. So there is this YouTube video. Really, it's just these viral videos, a series of them of people showing how they clean their disposal. Have you seen them?
Is this the one with that you put crushed ice in it?
Yeah. Well, you don't put you put ice and it crushes it. Then and a little bit of hot water.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I put a little vinegar.
Ice.
It makes that great Sonic ice if you don't want to go out and get it. But I did it the other day.
Beer over that. Did it work?
It actually worked. Now it didn't come bubbling out of the sink with like all the black stuff that you see in the videos, but enough of like brownish stuff and enough that like after a while it did come clear. What I didn't realize is I thought it was just going to take a few cups of ice. I had to dump the entire container of ice that was in my freezer. So that was the only downside, is then I didn't have ice for a while, but it was really fun to watch. The good news is my disposal was not as dirty as I thought it might have been. And I got it clean. Typically, what am I throwing down there? Some lemon peels or leftover lemons to keep it smelling good, but that's not cleaning it. If you think about the junk, and maybe I do need a lesson, like
food
shoving your
residue.
hand down there, and it's like you don't want to do that.
Well, you want to hear one of the meanest things I've ever done?
I love how disposals lead to that. Yes.
Which is like, I guess, mean for me. So we became landlords by mistake. So we had this townhome we were trying to sell. We just had an opportunity to get the house we're currently in, and we thought we'd be able to sell that townhome. But it was like during the time in the market where we made a great purchase on this house, but then that meant we were going to have a hard time selling the other one. So we became landlords. We rented it out, and
for a while, for like 5 years, 6 years. How long were you landlords?
Yes, for a while.
I forgot about that.
And I was the handy-manda on this situation. Now I would, but
that's funny, handy-manda.
I would call in experts, and the tenants we had in there were actually our neighbors at a certain point, and they sold their unit. And they wanted to buy something, but they wanted to wait. So they started we had them on month to month to make it easier for them in case they found something.
That's very generous.
And the tenant, she was so high maintenance, but I would fix everything like immediately, like within a day or two. and the disposal was constantly breaking. Oh, like the refrigerator was old. The line froze for the that dispensed the water, and she goes, I've been buying bottled water for a very long time because that refrigerator is broken, and I need you to either buy bottled water for us or get us a Brita filter. And I'm like, what? She goes, I need you to come fix it. And so I sent like a repair person to go fix the line, and he goes, you're going to have to replace the entire door, which is like half as much as a refrigerator. And I go, and if I'm replacing this refrigerator, it's going to be with something that doesn't make ice, right? It's going to be, and I told her that. I said, look, it hasn't been recalled. Like we're not going to be able to replace it. If we replace it, it's going to be with something that actually doesn't even dispense water. Like maybe it has like a very simple ice maker or something, but the ice maker is not going to be in the front of the unit. And then,
but by the way, one of those Brita pitchers is what, $20? She can't just buy that and keep that in her refrigerator.
Right. So, and then one time, I'm going to lead up to the garbage disposal. And then one time she came home from being out of town, and she said the freezer broke, and I had $900 worth of organic meat in there that's all gone bad. And you need to pay me. You need to pay me for all this meat, and da da da. So I had the guy come out and look at it, and what happened was she had put so much meat in there that the door didn't close all the way. So he figured it out as soon as he got there. And he said, hey, you realize you packed this so full that the door's not closing. That's why everything thawed. And as soon as all he had to do was close the door, and then the refrigerator started working again. And so, but she was getting ready to, and she's
Did she apologize?
No, she didn't. But so the garbage disposal kept on breaking, and I kept on sending out this repair person. He kept on saying, they're putting stuff down there they shouldn't. And I said, hey, just a reminder, you can't put X, Y, and Z down there. She goes, I know how to use a garbage disposal. I'm not breaking it. I'm like, okay. So she called another time, right?
Please tell me you put a nanny cam in the disposal, because that would make me so happy.
No, but I did take something out of the garbage disposal, and that was the garbage disposal. So I was so sick of her complaining about it and putting things in there she shouldn't, that I had the guy replace the garbage disposal with regular pipe.
Wow.
And she came in.
So mean.
It was so mean, but she came in while he was doing it and said, this can't be right. You need to go out and buy another one. And he was so scared. She was so mean to him that he called me and goes, she told me I needed to buy another garbage disposal, so I'm at Home Depot right now.
No.
I go, no, you're replacing it with pipe. I go, because she's just going to break the new one.
Right.
Right? She's putting stuff in there she shouldn't. I'm like, you don't get nice disposals if you don't treat them right.
We are taking away your disposal. By the way, I don't even put eggs down it, because eggshells are terrible for
They're
it.
supposed to be terrible. And so, by the way, we had never raised rent the entire time they were there. And then at one point, we had a management company help us managing it. And we wanted to raise rent by something like $50 a month, something small. And she said, you need to repaint the entire place if you're going to do that. And I said, why? I said, you're on a month to month, and we're willing to keep that. And it doesn't make sense for me to repaint it. It's like thousands of dollars for me to do that. So what's going to happen is we're actually going to ask you to leave. And the tenant went, but we had the management company do it.
Yeah.
And because she was, she's like, well, I need you to find, she said the management company, well, can you find me a different place? And she said, no.
Right.
She thought
So
they
sorry.
were difficult. She goes, I don't think you understand what great of a deal you were getting with the Markses. She goes, they were raising it by $50. She goes, I was telling them to raise it by $500.
Wow.
She's like, you were getting a really good deal. I can't get you that anywhere. So and they were really good landlords, fixing everything for you.
Did she come back and at least say, okay, I'm so sorry, we'll be better tenants, or no?
No.
Bye-bye.
I was like, bye. I was like, bye.
You talk to her ever again?
No.
Does she listen to this podcast?
She could. She might. I doubt it.
Well, speaking of food, back to your freezer story, I have a big announcement.
What? Did you got a new refrigerator?
No, it's not not that big. I gave up pescafilletarianism.
Filet.
Well, you remember I was a pescafilletarian because
if
on
it's
road
Chick-fil-A.
trips I would eat Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
But
okay.
for a year I was basically a pescatarian.
So what do you now?
Oh, now I'm just back to an eatitarian.
You just eat everything?
I just eat. Well, I don't think I was getting enough protein, which is a problem. I like fish a lot. I just don't want to eat fish all the time. And then beans and things like that. It's just not as filling. And I don't miss chicken. I mean, I do like chicken okay. I wasn't even missing steak, but I had some steak and it was delicious.
It was so good. Well,
And it didn't make me sick. I was afraid it would make me sick after a year of not eating it, but it did not. I didn't have a lot. And smoked turkey. It's probably not the best meat for you, but like just to be able to make a really simple smoked turkey wrap or throw it on some salad for lunch is game changing. It's just so easy.
You're preaching to the choir.
I know. I only did it for a year and you did it for like 100. Yeah.
I did it I'm a recovering vegetarian, for those of you who don't know.
You weren't even eating fish, were you?
Sometimes I would, but then I'd get grossed out by it.
Yeah.
And I would stop. So I went between eating fish and not eating fish and just being a straight up vegetarian. But after 20 years, I started eating meat and I realized that I was actually hungry for 20 years.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, that's why I tried veganism, right, for about 3 seconds, but I love cheese and I love eggs. So that was a deal breaker. And then I love sushi. So that's when the pescatarian came in. Then we were driving down to New Orleans to visit Abe. And, the best place to stop in Meridian, Mississippi is at the Chick-fil-A. And it's just delicious. So
they do have clean bathrooms, I have to say.
Yeah.
On road trips, that is a guaranteed clean bathroom. And you know what? We recently went on a road trip. I took Oscar and Ruby to their friend's bar mitzvah in Jacksonville. We stopped on the way home. We stopped at Buc-ee's.
The best they have the best bathrooms.
They have like 1,000 gas pumps. It's humongous in there. We've done a whole episode about Buc-ee's, but Oscar, the first thing he said was, "This is so American."
It is. Everything is over the top. 1,000 of everything when you only need 3 options or
like
one.
A wall of, they are very organized in there.
It's very clean. Is there an app that tells you or rates the cleanest bathrooms on a road trip?
There has to be. If not, we got to
create. There should be. Yeah. I think during COVID, one of the things that came out was the best place to stop, if you can, is a grocery store because they've got unlimited snacks. And they're not going to be,
expensive.
Yeah. The price hike isn't happening the way it is at a C-store. And their bathrooms are pretty much clean, especially at Publix. We stopped at a Publix on the way to Atlanta one time and it was delightful. I mean, it's hard to find without going off the beaten path, but
that is good. That is good advice. And I feel like TripAdvisor should add that section. I was actually on TripAdvisor yesterday, reviewing not the bathroom on our trip, but the hotel we stayed at. It was, I don't often complain about a hotel situation, but this place, we stayed at this, and I texted you about this, Alison, and I said, remind me to tell you about my experience at the Ramada Inn in Jacksonville. Also, if I go missing, check the Ramada Inn.
Which made me laugh and then worry.
Yeah.
So, and then I was up at 3 a.m. worrying about that and garbage disposals. It was not fun.
So there was a block at a new hotel, one of the Hilton hotels but we were going to, at one point, take the whole family and get an Airbnb. So I waited last minute. The block was full. We had to pay regular price. And then I started looking around and found this Ramada literally across the street from the hotel. Right? So I'm like, oh, it'll be...
Right, the location's got to be good.
The location's got to be good. This Ramada will be great. But when I tell you that every single person from Jacksonville, from the bar mitzvah party that I ran into, and they asked where we were staying, and I told them it was the Ramada, they go, no one told you?
Oh, it had a reputation?
Yeah. They said, you didn't talk to anyone about that? You just, yeah. And
so what was wrong with it?
So I was like, yeah, I figured it out pretty quickly as soon as we checked in.
Wait, let's backtrack before you get into the horror story. Did you look at reviews at all, or you just looked at location and said done?
Mea culpa. I did not.
Yeah. Cautionary tale to anyone booking anything is, I mean, it's sort of like you have to take the median of those reviews or even the mean, because the ones that are way over the top, those people are a little bit too easy to please. The ones who are complaining about everything, those, they just look for something to fetch about. But the middle people who are pretty honest with you, and then if everything's leaning towards the negative, that's all you need to hear. Yeah.
So, first of all, I got a little distracted because when I pulled in, the Ramada shared space with the Comedy Zone, which is a very well-known comedy club. Like, Carlos Mencia was performing all weekend. And so I was like, so distracted. I was like, oh my God, it's meant to be. There's a comedy club in here. And I did actually perform comedy that weekend, but not at Comedy
there.
Zone.
Okay.
Not there. But I knew something was off when I was checking in, and it felt like there was still like a hotel bar, but in like a 1980s sort of way.
Oh gosh.
And
Yeah.
I said to the woman, okay, which way to the elevator to get to our room? And she goes, oh, all you got to do is go outside, and you can just pull directly up to your door. And Ruby
so it
goes,
was a motel.
Yeah, that's
not
what
a hotel.
And I was impressed because Ruby immediately goes, this feels more like a motel. And I can't believe she didn't know. I can't believe she knew the difference, because that's not a nuance I think I was aware of when I was 12. And I was like, oh no. So there was like this guy who was like tatted up, smoking a clove cigarette outside our door. There's people talking loudly to each other. There's someone walking their pit bull. It was like,
were they hanging laundry outside too? And
it was like it was a dog friendly establishment. At like 3 a.m, I hear someone banging on the door next door to us. Probably had been locked out or something.
Yeah.
And I was so worried the kids, were going to wake up and get scared. So I was very close to calling the front desk, but I also didn't want to wake up Oscar and Ruby. So I didn't. And eventually I guess he got let back in. But the next day while they were at the service, I'm like, I had work to get done. But I wanted to be outside, and they have a pool. So I went to the pool and just,
I'm picturing like, Jacksonville Vacation Chevy Chase style at this point.
Yes, that's how it felt, right? Because it was like in a courtyard, and it was like that same setup as in
Vacation
in National Lampoon's Vacation. And then there was an altercation at the pool.
No.
Yeah.
Did you get in a fist fight again?
I did.
I've told you.
I said that is my floaty, not yours. So no, there are these kids who were like teenagers cursing up a storm. This dad was with his teenagers and his like younger son, and he starts fussing at them, and he's like
fussing at the kids who are not his kids.
Right. He's like, you need to stop with that language and stop doing this, stop touching people's stuff. And they started yelling at him and pointing at him and being like, la, 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 and your kids are doing this. And he goes, hold on a second. Where is your adult? He goes, where's your adult? I need to talk to your adult.
Uh-oh.
And then the adult came out, and then it all settled down. The adults were having a nice conversation, and then the kids, though, that he had been reprimanding, were still like debating him about everything. And they're like, well, your kids did this. And then he turned to their mom or their adult and was like, you know what? My kids did say something. And what happened immediately? I reprimanded them. I told them to stop. I made them apologize. And look at them. Now they're playing over here. They're not even paying attention to what's going on. Meanwhile, your kids are still debating me about all this
How
stuff.
old were these kids? Like teens?
Probably
middle teens? High teens?
Like 13 to 17.
Oh, way old enough to know better.
And the 17-year-old who was taking care of like her baby cousin, like on her hip, was the one who was like yelling the most. But because she was yelling, all the other ones were yelling. And I was like, da-da-da-da. I was like, this is exciting.
Oh, it's the best entertainment I've had all weekend.
Eventually it all calmed down, and at some point I could hear this voice to my side going, ma'am. And I didn't know they were talking to me, and then I turned, and the dad who had been reprimanding was like, would you like a popsicle?
Oh, that is hysterical.
Like, I'm good. Thank you. I'm right.
I'm just going to stay in my little corner. Don't mind me.
I'm going to stay right here. Hope you get into another fight because it makes good fodder for the podcast.
Well, I'm glad to hear at least you're traveling, because the last few weeks have shown me I don't even know if I'm ready to leave my house. And this has nothing to do with COVID. I mean, not that I'm scared of it. It's COVID related in the fact that every time I go out, I happen to see somebody who clearly knows me by name and face, and I literally have no idea who they are.
Oh my God.
And it is like to happen once was a little bit, unnerving, but it keeps happening to me. And I'm worried about me, and I'm worried about these people who think they know me. It reminds me, yeah.
Are they wearing masks?
No, I wish that was my excuse for 2 years.
Yeah,
I could be in Publix and shop and say, "Oh, so sorry, I didn't recognize you. Who is that? Oh, it's me, Ashley. Oh, yes." Now I have no excuse. They're fully unmasked and in my face. And one woman, I can't even say, because I don't even know if any of these listen to the podcast.
They probably all do.
I think one knew I didn't recognize her. And look, if she is listening to the podcast, I'm sorry, I didn't. And she's this beautiful young woman. And then I think she realized that we didn't, I was not having that, recognition on my face. And she says, "Isn't it great that we never have to think of each other's names since we're both Alison?" And I went, right. And you'd think still I'd go, oh, because how many other Alisons do I meet? Not a lot. No, nothing. And I feel terrible because she was delightful and so sweet. And anyway, it reminds me of, I wrote this column years ago when I was still writing a monthly column. And it was all about, this is not a new problem. This just exacerbated by COVID. But it was all about how I don't recognize people. And this happened to me even 15 years ago. And the column started, "Hey, you who comes up to me and in the grocery or at the park or whatever, who are you? How do we know each other? Where did we meet?" And I said, "It's not you. I go, "It's not you. It's me. I just don't know you." And so a week after that column came out, I was somewhere and this woman comes up to me and she grabbed me by kind of the shoulder. She goes, "Hi, Alison. It's Jenny Hill. You and my husband, Jason, we helped you do your website for your nonprofit way back when. And I'm introducing myself because I read your column and I didn't want there to be an awkward silence between us if you didn't know who I was. So I just wanted to come out and say that. And I hope you're doing great." And I started laughing so hard. I said, "Jenny Hill, I am never going to forget you because this moment has imprinted on me." I swear that must have been 12, 15 years ago. To this day, Jenny Hill is now a politician. She serves on our school board and now just got elected to our city council. And I'm so glad because I give her money for everything, not only because she's a great representative, but because I know who she is. I'm like, thank goodness. She was so smart back then. I should have known she would go into politics. She was very savvy to do that.
That was so smart of you and her. And this happens to me all the time. And I just talked to my friend Brittany about this because we are both very recognizable, right? Because of our hair, I think. Like Brittany has gobs of gorgeous red curly hair, and she's tiny, but also she's got a big personality and she's involved in 1,000 things. And then also, like, I'm on Facebook all the time creating
I'm just
content.
Loud with curly hair.
And right, I'm just loud with curly hair. But people, I think, see me a lot on Facebook and they're interacting with my content, but I'm not necessarily seeing theirs, right? And a lot of my content is visual. So they see me all the time.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know who that is. It's so, but at least with like your husbands are good friends, and I know Mommy is good at this, but I mean, there is a tell for when you're with someone and you need to introduce them.
Yeah.
And like you don't know their name. And like I will pick up on it. Like if we were together, it's very easy. Like if you weren't quite sure who someone was, I'd be like, "Oh, hi." I would introduce myself first for you.
Yeah.
So that you wouldn't, "What was your name?"
Okay, we say that, but two things happen. So one is Alan was with me, and this when it happened over the weekend to someone else, not the other Alison. And I said, "Oh, do you know my husband Alan?" And she went, "Yes, hi." So there was she didn't pick up on it.
Yeah.
Second of all, I was telling the story to a group of friends, and I will keep her unnamed to protect the innocent, but she told me this story, how it happened to her, that they ended up running into someone from like her childhood, and was totally in the person was like, yes, and we went to school together also. And then they end up like sitting down for a second. Her husband did not pick up on the fact that she had no idea who this person is, and started talking to the person like she was like a long lost friend, and like talking about like really personal stuff in their life. And my friend's like basically kicking her husband under the table, like, what are you doing? Finally, the person left, and she looks at her husband and goes, what were you doing? He goes, well, I thought this was like your best friend from growing up you hadn't seen. She goes, I have no idea who that person is.
Oh, that's so funny.
And now you've told them our life story. So there's got to be, for some of us, right, with partners who aren't, as aware or clued in to those nuances or those social cues, we might need to start having some sort of code word.
You know what? You have to be careful with the kicking, because one time I kicked Aaron under the table, and he goes, "Why did you kick me?"
Oh my gosh! See,
and I was like, "Oh my God!"
Right. The
really?
Social cues go even further, right? You can't have a kicking as a clue, because they may not know. Yeah.
Did you just kick me? Why
Right.
did you kick me?
Right.
Were you kicking me under the table for a reason? Did I say something I shouldn't?
Yeah.
You're saying something you shouldn't right now. I know that.
Oh gosh. So I want to end with a story which Levi and Alan are going to be very upset I'm telling, because they don't think it's funny at all, and I think it's hysterical. So I'll let you decide. And
Is
it's
it
not
about
even
them?
mine. No, it's about Mommy. But it is a. I should have just had Mommy come on to tell it, but we only have like 3 minutes, so I'm just going to go ahead and tell it. So Mommy tells us this story and says she's at the airport. It's when she was in Atlanta picking up Ezra. Ezra, there you go. You get another shout out on the podcast. So Ezra, since he's 13, had to fly unaccompanied. And Mommy got special papers to go through security to meet him in the gate in Atlanta. So she said she's walking through security, and the woman checks her papers and her ID, and she says, okay, when you go through, you probably have heard this, but our audience has not. You're nodding your head as if you've heard it. She goes, when you go through, you are not going to have to take off your shoes. They're going to want you to, but you don't have to. And she just went, okay. So she gets to the next guy. The guy says, ma'am, you have to take off your shoes. What are you doing? She goes, well, that woman said I don't have to take off my shoes. And he looks back and she waves him, and he goes, okay, you don't. And she still is like, what is going on? So then she gets to the third security person, and he says, ma'am, you need to take off your shoes. And Mommy says, well, the very first woman said I don't have to take off my shoes, so I really don't know what's going on. And he goes, Marge, what about her shoes? And she goes, she doesn't have to take them off. She's over 75.
She's going to love that you told this on the podcast.
I know. Oh, should I not tell it?
Go ahead.
Too late now.
Right?
Yeah. So
towards the end.
The best part of the story is, first of all, there's so many great parts of the story. First of all, that Mommy had no idea. She thought she was just getting like the golden ticket to not take off her shoes, which is also called TSA pre-check. Second of all is the fact that the people around her, of course, were like, you're over 75. You look amazing. You can travel with us anytime, because we will say our parents both look amazing. They are both over 75. You would never guess it. They look incredible. Third of all, who knew that over 75 you get that perk? And I'm just wondering, what other perks are out there that we are unaware of, or Mommy and Daddy are unaware of? I think for the next podcast, maybe we should research it, maybe not. But the other one I've learned about, which is maybe not such a perk as much as maybe they're just giving up, is apparently after 75 you no longer need a colonoscopy.
Oh my God, I was getting ready to say that.
How did you know that?
Because Mommy mentioned something about that. Did she say something like that to you too?
Well, it came up, and then it came up at dinner with all of my in-laws, and they're like, yeah, we were told the same thing. I said, have they just given up on you? Like,
yeah, and you know what? They
Why
also lowered the age for colonoscopies. So
yeah, go get it. If you haven't gotten a colonoscopy, everybody out there, go get it.
I'm not old enough yet.
Well, it's the best nap you'll ever have.
I'm
right?
almost old enough.
Yeah. Next time you're up worrying about the disposal, just sign up for
colonoscopy.
sign up for a colonoscopy. That propofol. What's it called?
I don't know. I've never gotten one, but Mommy did go on for 10 minutes about this pill, about the colonoscopy pill.
All right, there's a new pill that
instead of drinking that stuff. So if you've made it this far in the podcast,
we've bookended it with garbage disposals and colonoscopies.
Right.
What more could you want out of a 30-minute podcast, folks?
All I have to say is that if Mommy had been sitting next to you while you were telling that story, she would have started kicking you under the table.
And I would have said, why are you kicking me?
Why are you kicking me? You look good. As always, thanks for listening to the latest Sis Tell podcast. Share us with your friends, share us with your families, and share us with your foes.
This has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.
Sis Tell.